It's now time for the Billy C. Show, part of the BillyCBoxing.com network.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C. Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for Billy C's Talking Boxing with Billy C. Yeah, I forgot my intro there, but fear not, I'm still all jacked up from the fight last night. Tyson Fury against Deontay Wilder for Wilder's WBC world title belt, and we'll give Tyson Fury the credit for having the linear belt. I'm shocked. I'm shocked at the scores for this fight. I scored this fight 114-112. That included the two knockdowns. As if you're in your mind, you have a formula for how many jabs that land equal one power shot, and a lot of those power shots weren't even powerful. I mean, they were being grazed off of the gloves of Tyson Fury. I'm just I'm still a little messed up over the fight because it was an exciting fight. No question about that. I was on the edge of my seat. Listen, let's backtrack a sec. When you look at this fight, there's no question that it was an entertaining match. There's no question. I found myself on the edge of my seat for the entire fight, and it was interesting knowing that Deontay Wilder has the power to change a fight anytime, and then knowing that Tyson Fury was able to land the jab and even with some power shots. Deontay Wilder was stunned a couple of times in that fight, and I think if Tyson Fury had more punching power, he could have dropped Wilder. It makes you wonder how much punching power Luis Ortiz has. We'll get to him in a sec. But in case you missed it, Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder. The fight was exciting. It went the distance. At the end of the night, the three judges that mattered, one judge scored the fight 115-111 for Deontay Wilder, which I thought was a travesty. The other judge scored it 114-112, which is exactly what I scored the fight. And then the third judge had it even, 113-113. I was talking to a friend of the show, my man Mitch, and a week ago, right after last week's show, we were talking about, the possibilities, who's going to win, blah, blah, blah. And, Mitch said, this fight's going to end in a draw. There's no way. Unless Tyson Fury knocks out Wilder, this fight's going to end in a draw, even if he dominates. And, during the fight, after the second knockdown, I said to myself, we're going to see something here. The problem that I have is at the end, and I normally don't listen to comments from the fighters, but at the end of the fight, Deontay Wilder says, I thought he said something along the lines of Tyson Fury wasn't dominating the fight, and he felt that with the two knockdowns he won. That's a problem for me. The reason why is in his mind, and kind of the way the judges portrayed it, his comment, in a sense, on their scorecards, and the way a whole generation of fight fans will see it, just like that. Hey, I knocked the guy down twice, so I win the fight. Well, what about the other 10 rounds? What about the other 10 rounds in that fight? They were clearly dominated by Tyson Fury, with the exception of the two knockdown rounds. Just for the record, not that my scorecard matters at the end of the day, but I scored the first round for Fury. I thought it was a close round, but I gave it to Fury. I gave the second round to Wilder. I gave rounds 3, 4, 5, all for Tyson Fury. with notation of the fourth and fifth rounds being close. The sixth round was also close, but I leaned towards Deontay on that one. Rounds 7 and 8, I had both for Tyson Fury. Fury was down in the ninth. Even though he came on strong, I still scored that 10-8 in favor of Wilder. I gave rounds 10 and 11 to to Tyson Fury. And then the 12th round was similar to the ninth. The only difference was that it was a devastating knockdown. I did not think that Tyson Fury was going to get up off the canvas. He did. Typically, I'm not a fan of Jack Reese, but I thought he did the right thing. One other thing I noticed about Jack Reese in that particular knockdown, he didn't speed up his count the way a lot of referees do. And it's not that I blame them. It's their adrenaline's going just as well. Jack Reese was did that final count, I thought, very well. And he gave Tyson Fury the opportunity to try and continue the fight. I also believe that was a sign of, in his mind, thinking that Tyson Fury was totally dominating that fight, even prior to, even including, I should say, the knockdown in the ninth round. So, in my opinion, I thought that it was a no-brainer. I thought that Tyson Fury won that fight pretty handedly. At the end of the day, it ends up being a draw. Tyson Fury is now 27 wins, no losses, and one draw with 19 wins coming by knockout. Deontay Wilder, 40 wins, no losses, and a draw with 39 knockouts. So, we'll see how it goes. We are going to get my man Dax Khan and Alex Papali on the show a little bit later. But let me just get you caught up with some other fights that were on that card. In a title fight, junior middleweight, Jarrett Hurd improved to 23-0 with 16 knockouts when he landed a devastating one-punch body shot that put Jason Welburn down and out. Could not make it up at the count of 10. It was the official time was 1 minute and 55 seconds of the fourth round. Welburn, 24-7 with 7 knockouts. I don't know about you guys, but as far as I'm concerned, Jarrett Hurd, how does this guy make 154 pounds? He weighed 152 and a half, I believe, at the weigh-in, obviously the day before. And we at 152 and a half. How does a guy like him, as big as he is, the guy looks like a cruiserweight in there. He's a monster. And give him all the credit in the world. Nothing seems to affect this guy when you're landing flush. And then when you tire yourself out, look out. He can finish the show. I thought it was a good performance. I don't necessarily think that fight should have been a championship fight. Jason Welburn did squeak in at the top 12, but I thought it was more of a come back, stay busy fight after the surgery for Hurd, but nonetheless, he won the fight in convincing fashion. In the heavyweight division, we had 2 other fights on that card that were part of the pay-per-view. Luis Ortiz took care of business when he stopped Travis Kaufman at 1 minute and 58 seconds of the 10th and final round to improve to 30 wins and 1 loss with 26 of his W's by knockout. Kaufman drops to 32-3 with 23 of his fights that he won by knockout. In that fight, Kaufman was down 3 times before the final one. Well, I should say 2 times, and then the third and final time in the 10th. He was down in the 6th and in the 8th. So Luis Ortiz looked pretty sharp in that fight, despite being against Travis Kaufman. And no disrespect to Kaufman, but I don't put him in the same category as Luis Ortiz. Another heavyweight fight on that card. If you're into the sport more than just as a casual fan, you'll know who the heavyweight prospect Joe Joyce is. A lot of fanfare around this kid out of England. He improved to 7-0 with 7 knockouts when he destroyed Joe Hanks in the first round of a scheduled 10-round fight. You know, I have two comments on this fight. Number one, Joe Hanks shows what happens when you are basically hand-fed cupcake after cupcake to build up your record, and then when you get in with a real fighter, you don't fare so well. And if you take a look at all three losses, including the one against Joe Joyce, those were all fights against legit opponents. So, hand feeding these guys, I've been saying this for 10 years, 15 now. We're in our 15th year. What am I talking about? It's just, it doesn't help. The only people it helps is the guy who's got a percentage of the purse, because they build up the records just to get them a payday, and really they put these fighters in harm's way. As far as Joe Joyce is concerned, I think he's got a lot of potential. But I'm going to use that word again, potential. This isn't a guy that's ready. I've heard people say, oh, he's ready, he can do this. No, he's got a lot to learn. He seems very slow and methodical, but at least he also seems very serious, hardly cracking a smile. So it's a guy to keep an eye on. One other fight I wanted to talk about, it was not on the pay-per-view, but Robert Guerrero improved to 34 wins, 6 losses, and a draw. He was making a comeback. Remember, he had retired. He was hand-fed an opponent from Hungary. Adam Mate drops to 28-13. The fight ended with a second-round knockout. The official time was 2 minutes and 25 seconds. My big question is, why, Robert? Why? I mean, this guy certainly doesn't need the money. He's done very well for himself. Has a great story. His beautiful wife overcame cancer. They have a couple of great kids together, and I thought that he was going to continue retired and enjoying time and doing the things that he wanted to do with his family. He also was I thought he did very well behind the mic. So only time will tell if this comeback is going to be worth it for my man Robert Guerrero. Another fight was not on this card, but took place in Canada. We have an upset, so to speak. Adonis Superman Stevenson was a fighter that seemingly held the WBC light heavyweight title as hostage, avoiding his mandatories at least 3 times, fighting non-entity of fighters, still getting away with it, still pounding his chest, saying he was the best, avoided Sergey Kovalev, avoided all the top light heavyweights until finally the WBC said no mo, and made him fight a mandatory challenger in Oleksandr Gvozdyk, and Gvozdyk knocked him out in the 11th round. And by the way, I thought he was also down in round 3. Michael Griffin, terrible referee in my opinion, ruled it a slip. It was clearly from a punch, but nonetheless, Gvozdyk knocked out Adonis Superman Stevenson, and in a no-doubt knockout win. As a matter of fact, Adonis Stevenson, who walked out of the ring under his own power, collapsed back in his dressing room and was immediately rushed to the closest hospital in Quebec. And apparently, as I am doing this show right now, he is currently in critical condition in the ICU unit. So we give our thoughts and prayers out for Adonis Stevenson. I do want to say this, and no disrespect to Stevenson, especially in this state that he's currently in, but the truth of the matter is this is the same. My mindset is the same as what I've just said about Joe Hanks. Stevenson, who has fought top opposition in the past, hasn't done so in at least 5 or 6 years, has been very inactive, and I just feel that this is what happens, man. When you're not fighting real fights, and then all of a sudden you get in a ring, and oh, by the way, you're 41 years old, and you're fighting a young gun, a guy that's still learning. This is the management that puts their fighters in these positions where they're just thinking about building up records and selling a fight to a network or something like that for the payday is certainly not looking out for the fighter. The fighter, when you're fighting, I've used this analogy a million times. If in another sport, in football, for example, had some great college games on yesterday. In football, if one team always, the best team, the one that's classified the best team, always plays the worst team week in and week out, and wins every week, and at the end of the season is undefeated, is that really the best team if they're beating the worst team? If you're constantly playing the worst team, are you getting better? Do you get a chance to get better? It's the same in boxing. When these guys are fighting people that aren't challenging them or making them, learn something new, how to defend themselves, just simple things, this is the end result, and we see it a lot. And Joe Hanks was another example earlier in the evening. But anyway, back to the Tyson Fury fight. I really thought that he lost, Deontay Wilder lost that fight. So I want to give a shout out to all of our viewers right now on our YouTube channel. Remember, we want to hear your thoughts, so drop us a super chat, and we'll get you your thoughts on the show live. We are expecting my man Dax Khan and Alex Papali to join us a little bit later. But in any event, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, I thought it was a great fight for boxing. I thought that it was an entertaining fight, something that I did not believe was the case when we were breaking down the fight last week. I thought it would be a boring fight, but it turned out to be pretty exciting. I give Tyson Fury a lot of credit. In his comeback after nearly a 3-year layoff, he fought a couple of stiffs and did not look well in the first fight, and looked better in the second fight, but still didn't. The fight didn't end in a knockout. But at the end of the day, he looked very good against Deontay Wilder. Now, what did the fight show us? All right, I said last week, flat out, that the big problem that Deontay Wilder was going to have was fighting a guy that was actually bigger than him for the first time. You don't believe me? Go back, watch our show. Go back and watch the last 3 shows talking about this fight. And I said the same thing every time, and it proved to be 100% true in that fight. Deontay Wilder had no answer. Now, when he did attack Tyson Fury, he was, because he's so inaccurate. Listen, let's be real, okay? Deontay Wilder is a one-trick pony. I've said that many, many times, all right? He's got extreme punching power, and if he connects, he's going to knock you out. I mean, that's the way it is. And I also said last week that what Deontay Wilder would do would be to revert back to his headhunting ways, which he did, especially when he got the first knockdown. After that, he figured, okay, all I got to do is connect one time, and this fight's over. And, like I said earlier in the show, when he was complaining, saying that, or not complaining, but when he was saying at the end of the fight that he felt because of the 2 knockdowns, he won the fight. Listen, boys and girls, as far as I'm concerned, that's 2 rounds, really a 4-round swing, but there's 12 rounds. And arguably, he only won 1 other round on my scorecard. The way it is. Obviously, I'm not a guy who it mattered. I'm just telling you how I saw it. And, I will admit, I wanted to see Wilder get tested, if not stopped. He did get rocked. Tyson Fury rocked him several times. I don't recall seeing him puffed up as much as he was at the end of the fight, too. And Tyson Fury, for a guy his size, just does not punch that hard. He doesn't. I mean, he would knock me out, but he doesn't punch that hard. So there's a lot of different things that you could look into this fight. But from a positive point of view, Deontay Wilder looks, he's weathered the storm again. He had a lot of help from the paid-off judge. And listen, I'm going to tell you right now, in my opinion, I think there were 2 paid-off judges in this fight. The one judge clearly scoring a fight 115 to 1. What did he have it? 115 to 112, was it? 115 to 111. All right, 115, 111 for this fight was if this fighter, if that judge wasn't paid off, I don't know. Then that judge doesn't know how to judge a fight. All right. Then the other judge who I feel was paid off was the draw judge. Now, in defense of the draw judge, if some of those close rounds, like in my opinion, I thought the first, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, and the seventh rounds, I thought they were all close. And the only way you could add a score up like that would be if you leaned towards Deontay Wilder in those fights. The reason why I didn't think that should have been the case is because in those rounds that I say were close, in those rounds, Deontay Wilder landed a handful of punches. A handful. Yes, they seem to have some zip on them, but a handful. In all those close rounds, Tyson Fury was landing at will with his jab, and then he started following up with that right hand that Deontay Wilder had no answer for. So on a positive note for Wilder, I give him credit for staying patient, because if he would have tried to unload earlier, I think he would have tired out. And speaking of tired out, one thing I said last week, which I was wrong about this week, was the fact I said, I never really noticed Deontay Wilder get really tired. And people had reached out to me and said, well, he's pretty tired in the Ortiz fight, et cetera, et cetera. Let me tell you something. Deontay Wilder was tired in this fight. I noticed it blatantly in the 10th round. He clearly took that round off trying to gain his win. In the 11th round, he started out strong, but was tired. His mouth was open, and Tyson Fury had a beautiful round following a takeoff round for Wilder, in which Tyson Fury looked really good in the 10th as well. And even in the 12th and final round, after the knockdown, which I did not think Tyson Fury was going to get up. After that knockdown, Deontay Wilder didn't do much. And I think he didn't do much. I disagree with the bozos that were doing the commentary. I don't think he felt confident that he was going to win the fight, even though he said that at the end of the fight. I don't think he felt that that's it. I don't need to do anything else. I don't think he could raise his hands. I think that last shot took every ounce of energy that Deontay Wilder had left, and it couldn't finish the show. Now, as far as Tyson Fury is concerned, there basically are no negatives in this fight for Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury came out of this fight not only looking good and clearly cementing himself as a major player, and I'm not just saying a player, I'm talking about a major player in the heavyweight division right now. I mean, there's no question about that. Tyson Fury showed everything that he said and everything we've seen. This is a guy that knows how to tie up his opponent. He knows how to lean on him. He knows how to take away their strength. And he's a busy fighter. Tyson Fury he may have not looked like he was in the better shape physique-wise, but Tyson Fury, make no mistake, boys and girls, was in better shape than Deontay Wilder. He's more of a fighter. He's more of a boxer. Deontay Wilder's a one-trick pony. He reverted back to what he knows. He went headhunting. This fight, it's a shame that this fight ended the way it did. We were going to get a rematch anyway. But I think that the hardcore fan like myself, and I can't wait to hear Dax and Alex's opinion coming up shortly. But, for someone like myself, this is what's wrong with the sport of boxing. When you watch the sport, and I hear all the BS, because anybody that's been listening to my show for any length of time knows I've never been a Floyd Mayweather fan, ever. And one of my knocks on him is that he's not aggressive. However, he's a great defensive fighter. Now, the difference between Floyd Mayweather and Tyson Fury is Floyd Mayweather does half as much from an offensive point of view while he's being defensive and wins rounds in the judge's eyes. Tyson Fury was just as effective defensively against Deontay Wilder as I've seen Floyd Mayweather against many opponents. But the big difference, at least in my opinion, was that Tyson Fury was being more aggressive from an offensive point of view. There is no way that Deontay Wilder won this fight. There's no way. Despite the score, even my own score being somewhat close, 114 to 112, a difference of 2 rounds, that included the 2 10-8 knockdown rounds. I'm sorry, but in my opinion, this is what's bad for the sport of boxing. When you have a fight like this, and when a guy like Floyd Mayweather can give a reason why he would win, this is the sweet science. This is boxing. It's boxing. When they interviewed Floyd in between rounds, the two idiots of the world, Jim Gray and Floyd Mayweather, Floyd was saying flat out right then that he felt that Tyson Fury was winning a shutout. That was like in the 5th to 6th round. And you can't tell me that if that were the case, even in Floyd Mayweather's own words, if that were the case, the only way that the scorecards could have ended up close to the way they did was if Deontay Wilder won the rest of the rounds, which he did not. So, I don't know. I don't know. It was, in my opinion, it was very disheartening to see that fight get taken away from Tyson Fury. I felt Tyson Fury won the fight. I really do. I don't even think that it was close, in my opinion. But in any event, don't forget, I know we have a simulcast going on right now on our Facebook Live page. But you got to tune in under the YouTube channel. You get a much better version of the show. And if you want your comments read and discussed on the show live, send us a super chat and we'll hook you right up. Some other things I wanted to mention real quick on this fight before we take a break and get Dax Khan on is the simple fact that, Luis Ortiz was trying to earn a rematch against Deontay Wilder. He's going to have to wait because we're going to see a rematch between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. I don't know what the financial deal was in this fight. But, boxing is a business. They call it prize fighting for a reason. Although we always would wish for the knockout, drag-out, great fights, ever since somebody is being touted as a talent, it's still a business. And fighters have to earn their way to making big bucks, et cetera, et cetera. From a boxer business decision, the big question is, did Deontay Wilder make the right decision by turning down Anthony Joshua's, or I should say Eddie Hearn's offer? Now, remember, the final offer was this. It was Eddie Hearn offered Deontay Wilder $15 million to fight AJ in April of 2019, and he was giving him a $5 million payday to fight whoever he chose, any cupcake he could find, this time, November, December timeframe. So when you take your socks and shoes off and add it up, that's a $20 million over 2 fights. The question is going to be, how much money did Deontay Wilder actually earn for this fight against Tyson Fury? If we're going to go by percentage only, because let's make no mistake, Wilder is not backed by a promoter that's going to guarantee money, does not have the revenue streams that Eddie Hearn has to guarantee any money. I've been following this fight since it was signed, and never once did I hear anything about guaranteed money. So I had to assume that it was a percentage split, and the only thing that the revenue could come from would be the pay-per-view. Now, they did charge $75 for this pay-per-view. And I thought, I hate to say this because I don't like spending $75 for a pay-per-view, but I thought it was worth it. Not the card. The card sucked. But the fight itself, the heavyweight fight, and that's pretty much what you're buying a pay-per-view for. Now, with that said, after expenses and everything, I'm curious to see how many buys we had. Now, they did have almost 18,000 people at the Staples Center. But up until last week, there were plenty of seats available. And if you recall, the last time that Deontay Wilder did that, they gave away tickets to fill the arena. I don't know if that was the case this time. There seemed to be a lot of traveling fans from England or in the entire UK, I should say. And it seemed evenly matched with fan base. Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury both, making up half of the audience. So it's all going to boil down to how much money Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury are going to make from their cuts of the pay-per-view. And, there's a lot of pressure on Deontay Wilder for this to have done well on pay-per-view. Because anything less than him making $10 million, let's say, is going to be a loss, a poor business decision loss. Now, with that said, the rematch, Tyson Fury against Deontay Wilder, is going to make some more money. There'll be more interest in that fight. So, obviously, they'll make more money. But still, now you're fighting 2 fights. Now you still have a big payday against Anthony Joshua, win, lose, or draw. And so does Tyson Fury, win, lose, or draw. And when I look at Anthony Joshua, who I still think is the best heavyweight on the planet today, and I watch what Wilder did against Tyson Fury, and again, Tyson Fury, I thought, won the fight. And I thought he put on a perfect performance. But with that said, he doesn't have the punching power Anthony Joshua has. He doesn't even have the hand speed Anthony Joshua has, although Tyson Fury did display some hand speed. And he hurt Deontay Wilder, just like Luis Ortiz hurt Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder stayed on his feet in both of these fights. I don't see Deontay Wilder lasting against Anthony Joshua when and if they have a step in the ring. Hey, listen, boys and girls, don't be surprised if they never fight. Don't be surprised if they never fight. I would not be shocked. I would not be shocked if the Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder fight never comes about. Now, with that said, don't get me wrong. I am not suggesting that Anthony Joshua can go in there and just destroy Wilder. Wilder has that neutralizer, man. He's got the pop. He's got the punch. So that's what it is. And, the punch is the last thing to go. And, even over in Canada with Adonis Stevenson, he still had some pop. He still was landing some power shots on Gvozdyk. But Gvozdyk showed that youth will always prevail, especially when you have some pop. And in case you guys missed that fight, Teddy Atlas was in the corner of Gvozdyk. And, normally he's yelling and screaming and spitting all over you. I mean, he's, with Timothy Bradley, I mean, his face just dried from all and then the fireman thing. But I thought he did a good job. I thought that he did a great job, actually, with Gvozdyk in the corner. And speaking of guys in the corner, I thought it was extremely funny to see Freddie Roach, of all people, right? Freddie Roach, who people think is a great, trainer, et cetera, and I'm not knocking him or anything, but the funny thing about that was he was brought in. I questioned why he was being brought in, but he was brought in, and what does he do? He basically is holding a water bottle. I thought that was extremely, extremely entertaining. Hey, listen, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, I'm scheduled to have Dax Khan join us. So don't go anywhere. We will be back in about 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system break down bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people. Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money.
It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace? Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And speaking of being with us, joining us right now, all the way from Southern New York, is my man Dax Khan. Good morning, Dax.
Good morning. How's everybody today?
I'm a little disgusted, man. I mean, let's get right into it. I love the fight. A lot of
stuff happened last night.
I love the fight. It was an entertaining fight. It actually had me on the edge of my seat for all 12 rounds, Dax. It really did. I didn't think it would. But at the end of the day, I thought that Tyson Fury won the fight. I personally scored at 114-112, including the 2 knockdowns. How did you see it, my man?
That's actually the score I had because of the 2 knockdowns. You know, it went how I thought. You know, last time we discussed it, I discussed it with a lot of other people, where they're saying, how do you think it's going to end? I said, Deontay Wilder needs to knock Tyson Fury out. He's not going to outbox Tyson Fury. There were a few rounds early where not too much happened, but Tyson Fury, very much from the start, carried out the proper game plan. I thought maybe in the third that Deontay Wilder was onto something when he threw some body shots, but he never really capitalized on it. You know, even in the fifth when Fury slowed a bit, Wilder didn't do much either, but then, you know, his eyes already swelling up. You know, by the time the knockdown came in the ninth, I had Tyson Fury up 6 rounds. I had him winning the 10th, and I had him winning the 11th. The knockdown in round 12 looked like that was going to be it for sure, but somehow Tyson Fury managed to get up. Jack Reese gave a bit of a slow count. You know, some people were bothered by that. You know, maybe it was a little unfair, but, you know, the fact that he did get up was astonishing. Deontay Wilder really he was frustrated. He had no answers. He just kept headhunting, as you mentioned earlier. So Deontay Wilder kind of showed, he's a one-trick pony. He's, without that power, Deontay Wilder is that level below. And Tyson Fury, he got robbed. He really did. I had Tyson Fury win in the first, third, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, 10th. I had him win the 11th. I only gave Wilder the second, the fourth, 9th, and the 12th. And with those being the 10-8 rounds, without those, I think Deontay Wilder would have. Well, he should. If he didn't, definitely lose by then. It should be an investigation. Even in the announcement at the end of the fight when they were raising their hands, Tyson Fury had this look of, I can't believe this happened. And Deontay Wilder had this look of, I can't believe this just happened, but I can't believe this just happened, meaning I'm going home with my title.
A couple of things. One, what did you personally think? Are you saying that you thought that Reese had a slow count? Or because I thought that I give him credit because I thought that he maintained the same speed, whether it was slow overall or not. A lot of times when a referee is counting and as a fighter begins to rise, their count speeds up. It's almost like this, the adrenaline is flowing, and I don't think they mean to do it purposely. I just think it happens. I gave Jack Reese credit, and I'm not a big fan of Jack Reese, but I gave Jack Reese credit for maintaining the same speed of the count. At least that's the way I heard it. Did you personally think that it was too fast?
Well, no, it was slow, especially when Fury got up and Reese is kind of, walked to me. He's double checking, making sure he's okay. But, we weren't in there. We don't know. It's different when you're right up that close and you're looking in the eyes. So, maybe Jack Reese seen, okay, this guy's okay. He's, dust yourself off. Let's get on with this fight. Who knows? I don't think it was horrible. It was the worst count job I've ever seen. But, again, I still think Fury clearly won. I don't think he was really hurt that bad. I just think that count was a little bit extended, and that's going to be what a lot of people use as their argument, their counterpoint on how Deontay Wilder should have won that fight because of that count. But other than that, I think Tyson Fury put on a master display.
No doubt, and that's a great way to describe it. And, one last thing on the count. When I saw Tyson Fury laying there, and again, I wasn't out ringside, so I'm going by the TV shots that we were seeing. And when I saw him laying there, he looked out. And then when Jack Reese was counting over him, I don't know if you noticed, but all of a sudden, Tyson Fury's eyes realized. It was like he realized where prior to him just locking eyes with Jack Reese while he's laying on his back. He was dazed. I don't think he knew where he was. Then all of a sudden he realized where he was and got up in the nick of time. And I saw him. It reminded me of something that Ernie Shavers said to us one time at an event where he said, when he dropped Larry Holmes, he thought he killed him. He said then he saw Larry Holmes get a little twinkle in his eye, and he dragged himself up, and the rest was history. Larry Holmes came back to knock out Ernie Shavers, and I couldn't help but remember that. A little story from Ernie when I saw the reaction from Tyson Fury. What was your thoughts on Deontay Wilder saying that he felt that he won the fight because of the two knockdowns?
Of course he's going to say that. He's supposed to say that. He's the champion. He's not going to go out there and say, well, I felt I lost. But, Deontay Wilder, he believes in himself. I like Deontay Wilder. I wish he would settle down with his style a little bit. I think Deontay Wilder would have been a whole lot more effective and possibly even won that fight if he pumped his jab and worked off the jab. But, he doesn't. Deontay Wilder has fallen into that horrible trap that so many power punchers throughout the history of the sport have. He's become too in love with his power and always thinks no matter what's going to happen, if I land that punch, it's going to bail me out. And when he does land that punch, for example, like in the ninth, and the guy goes down, he gets a little overexcited thinking I have him. And then when he doesn't have him, he becomes even more frustrated and he just totally loses his composure and becomes a headhunter. And when you're somebody like Tyson Fury, who's, a complete boxer who knows how to, lean on you, who knows how to frustrate you, who knows how to get into your head, he knows how to use that ring well. That even, throws somebody like Deontay Wilder off even more and makes him become even more amateurish, so to speak, make bigger mistakes, and it plays into the hands of somebody like Tyson Fury. So Deontay Wilder, needs to make a few adjustments in that situation. But Tyson Fury right now, he's the hottest fighter in the heavyweight division. Without a title, he's still the hottest fighter in the heavyweight division, in my opinion.
As far as the performances in terms of looking at these guys as we move forward, obviously we're going to see a rematch between these two. I don't see Deontay Wilder improving, Dax. As far as him with boxing ability and athleticism, we saw it in the first Bermane-Stavern fight, and we've never seen it since. I don't think we're ever going to see it. How did this fight affect him and his development as a fighter? I mean, even though it's against what I say, I always say when a fighter's a champ, that's it. The development still happens, but you're not trying to talk about it. Is this going to help him or hurt him in this fight? The result of this fight.
It should help him. I think once the emotions settle down and he goes back and he watches the fight again, he's going to see a lot of the things. Like I said, he's going to see how, all right, I was out there headhunting and I shouldn't have. I think he'll sit down with Mark Breland. He'll look at past fights, mention the first Stavern fight, how Wilder dominated with the jab. And Wilder's going to say to himself, you know what? If I just go back to certain things I know I can do, I know I'm capable of, I can not only win by knockout, but when these knockouts don't happen, because they're not always going to happen, I should be able to dominate and outbox guys. And Wilder, we have seen him outboxed many times, and that power has bailed him out. Deontay Wilder, he's still a fairly young guy. He is relevant, of course. The power is always going to be there, even if his natural skill set between athleticism and speed starts to fade. So Deontay Wilder, I think, in my opinion, it's actually going to help him more than it's going to hurt him. But what's next for both guys is, my opinion, the most exciting.
What's funny is you're right. It should help him. He should learn. They should be able to review the video and go back to the drawing board, so to speak, and Mark Breland help him to fight a guy like Tyson Fury. The problem is that was the first guy he's ever faced, and I said it. I've been saying it for a long time. That was bigger than him. And that definitely seemed to be troubling Deontay in this fight, the size difference. And he also showed a lot of respect. So some of those shots that didn't look like they hurt too much that were coming from Tyson Fury must have been hurting Deontay because it kept him off him, Dax.
Yeah, I mean, the eye swelled up. Freddie Roach, I spoke to a few people. They were saying, well, what really good is Freddie Roach going to do? Freddie is just an offensive fighter. Tyson Fury's never been a guy to show power, but I think we've seen in this fight that Freddie Roach, even though Tyson Fury fought a defensive fight, which is, his bread and butter, I think Freddie Roach, kind of did add a little aggression, did have him using that jab a little bit more. So, Tyson Fury has definitely advanced, and Deontay Wilder, he has all the skill sets. He just has to make some adjustments in his composure.
Did you actually hear Freddie Roach say anything? All I saw was that he was the water boy. He was the guy handed him the water bottle. I thought that between him and Hatton, they were there just as part of the show, and then his regular trainer was the guy doing it. And you get for a 26-year-old kid, that trainer said all the right stuff. The only thing that I noticed, and granted, we only got to see a portion of in between the rounds, it was typical Tyson Fury. He's his own man. He listens to himself to a degree. Not that I'm comparing his talent, but similar to Floyd Mayweather, who gets listens to people in the corner, but at the end of the day does what he wants. And I thought I saw that from Tyson Fury.
Well, that's what separates Tyson Fury from everybody else. Same thing what separates Floyd Mayweather or Bernard Hopkins was the same way. Bernard Hopkins was his own man. There are certain guys, there's not much you can teach them, or, you're in between the rounds to maybe, tell them adjustments that need to be made that you've seen from outside. Other than that, there's really not much that you can say to them during the fight, and Tyson Fury pretty much shows that. Tyson Fury, his confidence is his biggest. That's the confidence that Tyson Fury brings with him into a fight, leading up to the fight, the mind games, that complete package is just levels above everybody. Not to mention the fact that Tyson Fury, he limits guys. I think the heavyweight average is about 15 punches per round. Tyson Fury keeps guys to about 6 or 4 punches a round. He did with Klitschko. So that should tell you exactly how much better he is than these guys. And that's 6'9". That's the amazing part. 6'9", and there's no more question, Bill, on his chin.
No. Well, I mean, he did go down. That one knockdown, the first knockdown, I didn't think he was hurt at all by that. I mean, even watching it, he admitted that it was, behind his head a little bit and that it hurt him, Tyson Fury. But it didn't look as devastating as the one in the final round, that's for sure. But very interesting fight. So they have a rematch. What's going to be different or anything?
They have a rematch. In my opinion, Deontay Wilder has to use the jab. He has to box more. He can't go head hunting. Tyson Fury, talk about adjustments. Tyson Fury's going to go and look back, and Tyson Fury's going to make adjustments where he got caught. So
I don't know.
Tyson Fury, he's just a more skilled fighter overall, period. There's no more he's just a more skilled fighter. Deontay Wilder will have to knock him out. If they met 100 times, Tyson Fury beats him 98.
But does he really get the win? He beat him last night too, and he didn't get the win.
I mean, we can talk about the judges in a second.
Well, talk about him now.
The judges, when you look at the three judges, Alejandro Roshin, who gave it 115-111 for Wilder, he's from Mexico. He's had one title fight that he judged in 2018. That was a female junior flyweight fight. He did judge the Triple G versus Vanes Martirosyan fight, but then again, he didn't really need to judge anything because that was a knockout. In 2018, he has judged over 350 fights. Sometimes he's judged 5 a night, 20 a week, and none of them relevant. He's pretty much a guy who judges small fights in club shows down in Mexico. Robert Tapper, the Canadian judge who had it 115-110 for Fury. The only thing that he's done significantly as of late was the Alexander Usyk against Marius Briedis fight. And where he had 115-113, or 115-113. Now Phil Edwards, the British judge, who had it 113-113 even, he had Josh Warrington over Lee Selby correctly, 116-112, and then he gave Maurice Hooker the 117-111 win over Terry Flanagan, shockingly, because Maurice Hooker was the B-side coming over there, and Terry Flanagan's a guy that has been known to get gift decisions. So each guy has a little bit of their own background, but the one that definitely needs to be looked at is Roshin from Mexico. No judge should be judging that many fights in 1 week, and without title fights being involved. This is just a guy, located in Mexico, more or less. He's the WBC guy that was inserted in there. They didn't have one American judge in there at all, and none of these guys are really known to be big-time world title fight guys with world title fight experience, especially when there's a fight of this magnitude, a heavyweight title fight.
Yeah, but those reasons make it even more baffling to me, Dax, that the scores went the opposite way. I mean, everyone I've talked to so far all has Tyson Fury winning the fight. I know that some of the rounds were close, but that means these guys all went the other way with the close rounds. So the criteria of judging a fight is not the same as at least the rest of the world seems to look at. Even other judges that were judging the fight that weren't physically there.
Sometimes, the visiting judge, like the UK judge, let's say, they feel kind of pressured, saying, if I give the guy from, where I'm, give the fighter where I'm from these rounds that are close, it's going to look like favoritism. And then, when you have these guys that aren't into this big fight experience, they just really don't, okay, I'm in here and I'm being a judge for a WBC fight. I want to get more of these, so you know what? I'm going to go with the champion because he's the more popular guy. He's the guy I know. And the guy from the judge from Canada, like I stated, most recently he's had the more credible title fights. And in terms of what other people were saying, Caleb Trual, Zachary Ochoa, K9 Bundridge, they all had Tyson Fury winning, and K9 was rooting for Deontay Wilder all week, he was saying. Billy Joe Saunders, who said this is the best heavyweight title fight he has ever seen himself, but, he feels Tyson Fury was robbed. Iceman John Scully feels, even with the 2 knockdowns, that Tyson Fury was robbed. Claressa Shields is the only one that thought Deontay Wilder swept the fight. And Shakur Stevenson had to tell her, I love you, girl, but you have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, listen, Floyd Mayweather said the same thing, and I'm not a big fan of Floyd's. Everyone knows that, but he said the same thing. That was a shutout, and although my card differed a bit from Steve Farhood, he had it pretty much a shutout too. So with the exception,
Floyd likes the defensive style. That's what I mean. Floyd favors the defensive style, and again, what do you favor?
Right, but the truth of the matter was that. Not only that's what I said earlier. When you look at Floyd and you look at Tyson Fury, both defensive fighters, what I saw in this particular fight last night was that Tyson Fury was way more offensive, being as successful as he was defensive. Floyd wins those same kinds of rounds being defensive and half as offensive. So how did the judges, if they were scoring that fight for Floyd, they would have given him all those rounds, and they seemingly didn't for Tyson Fury. That was my point.
But again, it's lack of experience of the judges. When you have judges that aren't used to being in that big scene, they're hoping, okay, if I score this right for the right guy, I'm not really, I'm hoping I get bigger, I'm hoping I get bigger assignments in the future, and that's a problem when you don't have well-experienced and qualified judges that can sit there and say, if they don't like my decision, they don't like my decision. But point is, I'm giving the decision that I think is fair, whether or not everybody else does or does not.
The bottom line was it was a great fight. There's no question about it. It was entertaining, had me on the edge of my seat from the opening bell till the final. I personally felt that Tyson Fury won the fight. Like I said, 114, 112. The one knockdown didn't seem to hurt him, in my opinion. The second one seemed to kill him, and he got up from both of them. And Deontay Wilder, once again, he won the he didn't win the fight. He got a draw. He retained his title, but he's a one-trick pony, and it is what it is. We're not going to see Deontay Wilder change. He's going to rely on that punching power, and until someone else gets to him first, he's going to be in every fight that he's in.
Aside from facing each other, Vladimir Klitschko and Tyson Fury will always have two things in common: getting up or surviving punches that we thought was going to take their head off. How Tyson Fury got up last night, and the uppercut that didn't take Vladimir Klitschko's head off and put it into the 10th row that he received off of Anthony Joshua.
The thing about the fight, a lot of people comparing the Vladimir Klitschko and Tyson Fury fight with the Tyson Fury against the Deontay Wilder fight. The difference is, Vladimir Klitschko has to be perfect when he delivers his punches. And Tyson Fury prevented him from even launching his hammer right hand, which I feel is just as powerful as Deontay Wilder's. The difference between Deontay was that he did seemingly let his hands go more. The problem is because he's not accurate. He's not an accurate puncher. And although that wildness has helped him in the past, it didn't really help him that much against Tyson Fury, except for the two knockdowns, of course. But
I was just saying the survival of the punches. I wasn't comparing the fighters. I'm just saying
how
they monster punches and somehow didn't go to sleep when they should have.
I wasn't suggesting you were comparing the two. I was just saying from a Tyson Fury point of view, how he neutralized both fighters that had power. You know what I mean?
My mistake.
But listen, the other thing I want to get to before we let you go. Adonis Stevenson knocked out by Oleksandr Gvozdyk last night in Canada. To me, it wasn't an exciting fight. Maybe I just couldn't get into it, but the knockout was devastating. What were your thoughts on that fight itself?
I think that Teddy Atlas was the right guy in the corner.
Yep.
He didn't give a fireman speech, but, he was firm in the corner. He told Gvozdyk everything he needed to know or needed to do and adjust, and he did it. Early on, Gvozdyk, I was a little bit thinking to myself, I don't think this guy is going to, he's going to go 3 or 4 rounds. He was very hesitant to commit. But once he got comfortable, once Teddy Atlas put a little bit of confidence in him, he went out there and he started out boxing Adonis Stevenson. And then, of course, when he finished him, that was in devastating fashion. He was using his footwork to keep Adonis Stevenson turning. They maybe certainly should have studied that Badu Jack fight, where they seen how Adonis Stevenson's legs are certainly not what they used to be, and that was a big part of their game plan, in my opinion. Gvozdyk, I think much like Dimitri Bivol, his power isn't what it seems at the higher level as it is against the lower guys. But again, like Dimitri Bivol, the fact that he shows he can incorporate everything into his skill set. He doesn't need to rely on that power. If the power isn't coming, I'm going to be a boxer, and that's what makes him exciting. And finally, Adonis Stevenson, the title being held hostage, is all of a sudden that light heavyweight division is red hot. To be fair to Adonis Stevenson, love him or hate him, he had a good run as a champion. He held that title for 5 years, 10 defenses, maybe not the best opponents, maybe some handpicked, maybe he sidestepped a few guys. But, I think he had 4 or 5 world champions inside there. So, he's 41 years old. I don't think we're going to see him again. It's going to be interesting to see exactly how Gvozdyk improves, how he adjusts, and it'd be even more interesting to see what happens with Dimitri Bivol and what happens with the rematch between Alvarez and Kovalev in the spring. So that division is, I'm really excited about the division. I actually think that might be the most exciting division in the sport right now. Adonis Stevenson, he's done one more fight against a lower level guy, go out on a win, or maybe if Kovalev loses to Alvarez in the spring in their rematch, Adonis Stevenson versus Kovalev is one last big money fight for the two of them, even though it would have been a bigger money fight 4 years ago, and then both of them are off. And, and it's time for the younger guys in that division to pick up the slack and usher in a new era.
Hey, Dax, we got I want to thank my man, Joel. We got a super chat from him I want to get your thoughts on. He says there'll always be rematches. It means more money. Obviously, talking about Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. I agree with Joel. I mean, of course, I don't think we get enough rematches anymore, at least with some of the upper echelon fighters. When there's a draw, there's pretty much such a strong demand for it that they can't avoid it, especially in this particular fight. From what I understand, both fighters had a rematch option in the contract. So we know we're going to see a rematch. Will it mean more money in this fight?
Absolutely, I think so. Obviously Anthony Joshua is the big money fighter in the division, but Anthony Joshua, if he's not willing to play ball and get in there with one of these guys soon, these guys will definitely rematch, and there's going to be more money in there. And Anthony Joshua, despite having the majority of the titles, will be the guy that nobody's really paying attention to, and it's going to be the winner of this fight that everybody's going to consider the very best in that division because of how good the fight was. Deontay Wilder made $4 million last night. Tyson Fury made $3 million. Plus, they're both going to get a share of the pay-per-view buys. Depending on how well that pay-per-view did, they can, Wilder can end up with $6-7 million. Tyson Fury can end up, with $5 or $6 million. Not the biggest, not an Anthony Joshua type payday, but definitely one that says when the rematch happens, they're going to get a whole lot more, maybe even double. The audience in there, 17,000 live, that gives me an inclination that it's going to be, that it probably did better on pay-per-view than what we thought. So,
well, Dax, what did you hear? Are those? I've been following this fight since they announced, and I have never heard any guaranteed money. You know for sure that they guaranteed Wilder $4 million and Fury $3 million. Is that fact or is that rumor?
Yeah, no, that's they're $4 million and $3 million plus a share of the pay-per-view buys, and the pay-per-view buys, again, depending on how big it is, that could equal up, what their purse was.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing, and this is why I've been saying for the longest time that Deontay Wilder or his handlers or his advisors, his management, whatever, were stupid for turning down the deal that Eddie Hearn had offered. They had offered him, if you recall, the final offer was $15 million to fight Anthony Joshua in April, and they would have paid him $5 million to fight any opponent he chose, leading up like this time of year. So 2-fight deal, making $20 million, win, lose, or draw. I just can't see how the justification, even if, let's say, they do really well with the pay-per-view and Deontay Wilder makes $10 million for this fight, he would have to exceed that for the second fight to look like they made the smart move. I just don't see it happening, Dax, I from a financial point of view. But as we both agree, this fight itself last night was a great fight. There's no question about it.
As of right now, Bill, I'm going to say it flat. I don't care what anybody says. The fact that Deontay Wilder fought Tyson Fury and Luis Ortiz, in my opinion, those two names are better than the names on Joshua's resume outside of Vladimir Klitschko, who was past his best.
Oh, gosh. I disagree with you. I disagree with you on that one, my man.
You can disagree with me all you want, but you know what? Dominic Breazeale, Charles Martin, and a couple Deontay Wilder leftovers doesn't compare to Luis Ortiz and Tyson Fury.
And then I asked this: aside from Deontay Wilder, and I called two of Luis Ortiz's fights. What wins does he have under his belt? As a pro.
You know what, Bill? You yourself, though, thought that Luis Ortiz was going to knock Deontay Wilder out.
Hey, I gave Deontay Wilder all the credit in the world for winning that fight. I turned Deontay Wilder showed us a lot in that fight. There's no question about it. But I was just making a point.
When they fought, you know, pretty much everybody felt that Luis Ortiz was probably about the fifth best fighter in the division.
Yes.
At least. So, and Anthony Joshua, and I'm not knocking him, but in terms of, the resume, and same thing with Tyson Fury. Now that Tyson Fury took that title from Vladimir Klitschko, and now that, he's fought Deontay Wilder with the draw, Tyson Fury, I believe that his two best fights are better than Anthony Joshua's best fights.
Well, Anthony Joshua, don't forget, he beat.
Oh, let's not say, he's only 19, he's only 22, he only fought this guy.
No, I'm not saying anything like that. All I'm saying is he beat and knocked out Alexander Povetkin, Joseph Parker, Klitschko, Dillian White. I mean, all those names are all better than, with the exception of Tyson Fury.
White did a lot better against Joseph Parker. Alexander Povetkin way past it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll see if they ever get in the ring. But Dax, I appreciate your thoughts, and we'll be looking forward to you next week, my man.
All right. Talk to you soon.
That's Dax Khan giving us his thoughts. And disagrees with me about Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder, but Anthony Joshua, in my opinion, I know it's not in Dax's, but in my opinion, which is what I think, obviously, Anthony Joshua is still the best heavyweight, and his resume blows away Deontay Wilder's. Deontay Wilder has two big names on his resume. One ending in a draw against Tyson Fury, the other in a fantastic knockout over Luis Ortiz. And I mentioned some other names for AJ that I believe were better. Listen, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we will have my man Alex Papali join us. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Billy C will be right back.
Have osteoarthritis in one or both knees? If you have osteoarthritis in one or both knees, are you on Medicare, Obamacare, or other health insurance? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a prescription strength solution for osteoarthritis of the knees, covered by Medicare at little to absolutely no cost to you. We also offer a prescription strength topical pain relief ointment that can be used for pain experienced on other areas of your body. Our experienced staff will work with your doctor and handle all of your Medicare or insurance paperwork. Best of all, your prescription is shipped directly to your home for free. Will you qualify for a prescription strength solution for osteoarthritis of the knee, or for a topical pain relief ointment covered by Medicare or private insurance at little or no cost to you?
Find out for free by calling the Back and Knee Pain Center at 1-800-604-1072. That's 1-800-604-1072, 1-800-604-1072.
Medical alarms for people who fall or have medical emergencies. You never think you'll need one until you do. Hi, I'm Lonnie Anderson for Advantage Alert. Today, our advanced systems locate and protect people inside and outside their homes, plus when they're on the road, allowing users with the press of a button to speak with an operator who can summon help. And even after 30 years, Advantage Alert's products remain amazingly affordable.
Call 800-985-1705.
Addiction is an epidemic in America. If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction, you need to call the R360 Network now.
I'm Ken Seeley, author, addiction recovery specialist, and former addict. R360 is a nationwide network of addiction recovery specialists that I personally selected and recommend.
The call is free, the consultation is free. If you have private insurance, your treatment could be covered with no out-of-pocket cost.
Call 800-705-0023.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. And tell them Billy C sent ya.
The one, the only, Don King.
Makes me feel good, Billy, to have you, the number one show in the country, talking boxing with Billy. So I invite each and every American that's listening to this great show to tune in, because we want you to be there with Billy and me.
Now back to Talking Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C., damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap. The undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talking Boxing with Billy C. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And joining us right now, all the way from Connecticut, is my man Alex Papali. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning, Billy C. How are you?
Dun, 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 dun. We hear you. We see you. You hear us. It's a miracle. I swear it is. But, two guys that were totally wrong last week were, I won't mention their names, but Billy C. and Alex P. were both pretty wrong. We both thought that this was going to be a boring fight. We thought it was going to be all tactical. It was tactical, but it was nowhere near boring. Alex, I was on the edge of my seat for the whole fight. What was your thoughts on the fight?
Yeah, I really expected it to be a lot sloppy mess of a fight, and it wasn't. It was, it was some really sweet boxing. I thought it was great. I think the prediction I made last week was that Wilder would end up scoring a knockout late, that, he'd come up with the shot and get him eventually, just because I thought that the conditioning would wear on Fury, that you couldn't treat your body like that and then, not pay somehow. And in that 12th round, I was like, I can't believe it. It happened. I was happy for Wilder in that second there, because, he was able to do what a champion should do. But when Fury got up, I was stunned. I saw it at the movie theater, which is the first time I did that. It was really fun. The crowd went nuts. I mean, the room erupted. I've never seen a guy get... The only thing I could think of was when Gotti got up from that Mickey Ward liver shot in the first Gotti-Ward fight. That was one of those fights where, how did a human being do that? I even said to somebody that was what was cool last night, was you got to talk to people who were real hardcore fans. The place was maybe 2/3 full, and there was people that got there right at like 5 minutes to 9 o'clock. They wanted to see every single fight. So it was pretty neat. So you ended up talking in the crowd, and I mentioned how it was like, the last round of the Ali Frazier 1 fight. And the guy was saying, I think he was hurt more than Ali was. And I think he's right. I mean, Fury, it looked over, completely over. And it just was a great night. And the decision was just a ugly, despicable little twist on what was a great night and what was a great performance in Tyson Fury. I'm sorry. I had it 115-111. For Tyson Fury, 9 rounds to 3. With the knockdowns, sure, Wilder gets an extra point for those. But, the way he fought the second half of the 12th is the story of the fight. As soon as Fury got up, he retaliated, and it was right back to what the whole fight looked like. He absolutely befuddled Wilder. He was you couldn't hit him. It was like watching a Winky Wright fight. He was slipping and sliding out of there. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I don't know. It was unfortunate. I mean, 8 rounds to 4, maybe I could see, but even that's 114, 112. I don't know. I did just see Randy Gordon, I think, posted. I think he said he had it 6-6 in rounds, which that goes to Wilder because of the extra points. I don't see that there was 6 rounds that Wilder won. I don't know. I don't know what they were watching.
I mean, I scored the fight 114-112 in favor of Tyson Fury. I had it 8 rounds to 4. Two of the rounds obviously were 10-8 rounds, and I thought it was a robbery. Normally, if there were no knockdowns and I ended up with a score that close, you have to say, well, it was a close fight. This was not a close fight. The 2 knockdowns made it close, but it was not a close fight. You're right. Befuddled is a good choice of words. Tyson Fury looked great. Deontay Wilder proved he's a one-trick pony. He will always rely on that knockout, which has worked for him in all of his fights except for last night. And I'm with you. I thought that Tyson Fury was dead. And I disagree.
I thought he was dead too.
I disagree. I disagree with Dax on a lot of things, but on this fight in particular, number one, I thought, and I'm not a fan of Jack Reese at all, but I thought that Jack Reese did a great job with the count.
Oh, me too.
I thought that he did a great job with the count because it was the same speed of a count from the time he started it through the Tyson Fury getting up. So I applaud him for this fight. He also knew the style of both fighters and didn't take away their strengths, which I also thought was a good job. It was an entertaining fight through and through. There's no question about it. I just don't think the right guy won the fight. That's for sure. Now, last week when you and I were making our predictions, I thought that if Deontay Wilder was going to win by knockout, it was going to. I disagreed with you. I thought it was going to happen early, and I thought the longer the fight went, the better chance Tyson Fury had. I guess that knockdown in the 12th round won the fight for Deontay Wilder, even on the scorecards that I didn't agree with. Because if that knockdown doesn't happen, and even if you give Wilder that last round, he doesn't win the fight on some of those judges' cards. So I love the fight. What do you expect in a rematch?
I don't see how Wilder comes up with the tools to beat a guy like that. I think that the prediction from Emmanuel Stewart from all those years ago proved true. I think at one point I tweeted that this is maybe like it was around 8 or so. Because it was before the first knockdown. That's what I thought it was going to look like if they met if they had met like in the spring or summer of 2016, coming after the upset win of Fury beating Klitschko. Fury is just got a style that's going to be difficult for anybody. And he feints like crazy. He's very elusive for a gigantic man. And then you add to that the dimension that you're trying to reach him.
I said that, remember? I said that was going to be an issue, and it really seemed to be a big problem for Wilder.
Oh, it's enormous. And not only that, he's bold. He has that Eric Morales quality that if you don't hurt him, don't sting him, because if you do, he's coming right back. The thing that was awesome about this fight, and I thought Jack Reese did a great job. I think he is one of the best reps in the sport. I think he kind of suffered a bit because the PBC kept putting that ridiculous headgear on him for so long. So it's hard not to laugh at him for a few times there. But I thought he did an excellent job last night, because so many refs today think two things would happen. They panic. And they figure, let's wave the fight off. And then also I think they want the drama of waving off the fight. And so many refs would have in that final round. But what did Reese do? That's why we have a 10 count. Give the guy the whole opportunity. He gave him the opportunity, and miraculously, Fury recovered himself within 10 seconds. Well, that's just it. It's not 10 seconds. It's a 10 count. And I thought there was nothing wrong with his count at all. But again, we were going absolutely nuts in the room where I was. It was crazy because all the, it seems like these days a lot, and I guess it says part of our world, but a lot of cops hang out around at a movie theater on a Saturday night. So by the time it was, the 12th round, most of the movies were over. Maybe there was still a couple showing, but all the cops had come in, all the popcorn people, all the ushers, and when that 12th round knockout down happened, the place was going nuts, people screaming. But yeah, I thought it was amazing how little the referee was a factor. There was so few clinching, There was so little clinching, and I thought that was going to be such a different case. I thought that, the wild swinging of Wilder and the clutching and grabbing style of Fury, that he'd be leaning on Wilder, that never really happened. It was just a great fight. I think if a rematch happens, I think that was another thing, that not only did Fury win the fight or deserve to win the fight, he won the interview. Wilder seemed like a deer in the headlights, because I think he was a little embarrassed. It was the first time he got a little swelling. I do think that the same thing will happen. You're not going to figure out how to deal with a fainting machine like that in one training camp. No. And I think Emmanuel Stewart called it back then, is that out of all those guys, the Wilders, the Klitschkos, Fury is the most natural fighter. That's what you saw last night. It wasn't the body beautiful that was giving out the boxing lesson. It was this strange, enormous man, the Gypsy King. All hail the Gypsy King.
The thing was, though, is that I've always said, if the guy had more power, he would maybe be one of the greatest boxers ever. He just doesn't. He's
so speedy.
Yeah, I know. Last night, his speed came out. It was more apparent in that fight. And I've been a Tyson Fury fan, for a long time. I actually, one of our listeners had turned me on to him, and I saw from his second pro fight on. He was always sending me all the links when he was coming up. So I mean, he's been on this show several times. But I never really thought of him as a fast, a fighter that was quick, and he seemed quick yesterday. I do think that a rematch would benefit Deontay, and the reason why is I agree with what you were saying. But I don't, and I agree along the lines of he's not going to find sparring that's going to help him. But I think that a rematch will pick up. It'll become round 13. And I think that one thing that Deontay has to learn from this fight is that he needs to be more aggressive. The two knockdowns were a result of his aggressiveness. Yes, he missed a lot of punches, but because of his freaky punching power and because of the suspect chin of Tyson Fury, he was able to get him on the canvas. The thing that surprised me the most about Deontay Wilder in this fight, Alex, was nothing to do with his lack of skill, because he doesn't have any skill. He's got one thing, and that's punching power. He can't move. He can't jab. He can't defend himself. He's awkward. I mean, he's everything that you don't want a fighter to do, but he has the one thing that you want every fighter to have, and that's punching power. But the thing I noticed for the first time since watching Deontay Wilder was that he was the guy that was tired. And I noticed it in the 9th round after he dropped Tyson Fury. Fury came on, and if it weren't for the knockdown, would have won that round. You still score a 10-8. Then round 10, Wilder took that round totally off, whether it was on purpose or because he just didn't have the energy. Round 11, he was tired. And then in the final round, after that devastating knockout, he was gassed. He couldn't throw another punch. Right. So to Fury's credit, after getting up, he was the one that came on strong at the end of that round. So, I just can't see how people in their right mind thought that Wilder won that fight. I'm having people comment that, watching it a second or third time, it was real close. You mentioned other people saying 6 rounds to 6. I just don't see it, Alex.
Me neither. No, I don't see it. And I think that, like you said, even in the rounds where he did get dropped and in the final round where he did get dead, it looked like he got dead and then got up. He rallied, and that's why, because that's what happened in that final round. Is Wilder had plenty of time. He stopped throwing because Fury came right back after the knockdown. That's what he kept doing. That's what you have to do if you want to win. I don't know what else he had to do other than stop him or put him down that Fury would have had to do. And I think that that's what makes the decision so egregious. Is I don't see. I mean, when you look at the official scorecards, Alexander Ricone had it rounds 2, 3, and 4. And round 8, he had all those rounds for Wilder, and nobody else did.
Yeah,
and I think that the round 2, 3, and 4 especially. I mean, he swept most of those early rounds. That's why even when you get to the knockdowns, the extra points weren't enough because Fury had banked all those early rounds, or at least it sure looked like he did.
Well, on my scorecard, and I have it in front of me, I scored the first round for Fury. I scored the second round for Wilder. I scored rounds 3, 4, and 5, all for Tyson Fury. I gave the 6th round to Deontay. I gave the 7th, 8th, and 7th and 8th round to Fury. The 9th round was the first knockdown. You got to give it to Wilder, 10-8. Rounds 10 and 11, both were Tyson Fury, and round 12 was the knockdown, 10-8. I ended up with a 114-112 score. I think the 115-111 score was outrageous. The 114-110 score, okay. I don't know how they got the 110 with that score. The one judge that scored 114-112, I scored 114-112. The judge scored at 114-110. What happened to those other 2 points? I don't know. And then the other paid off judge, 113-113. Again, how do you come up with that? If you think the fight was even, if you give the rounds I thought were close to Wilder, even with the knockdowns, that's the only way you could come up with the draw. And I think you know how I've always said, Alex, about the criteria of judging a fight. Somewhere along the line, we have to put it in the judge's hands. What is the exact formula? How many crisp landed jabs equal one shot that's somewhat powerful? Because the judges that scored the rounds for Deontay had to be giving him the whole round for him landing a power punch versus all the punches that Tyson Fury was throwing. And, oh, by the way, the combination, just the simple 1-2, Deontay couldn't get out of the way of. I think that was the most effective out of all the punches. And although I wanted to see Tyson Fury work the body more, which he did in the beginning and then just abandon it, was the most effective two-punch combo that Tyson Fury threw. And the mind-boggling thing, Alex, is that's the first thing you're supposed to learn how to defend. The 1-2 punch, and Deontay Wilder couldn't defend against it.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that where in terms of like consistency and scoring and what one jab, how many how many jabs equals a power punch. I think the thing that sort of overrides that is the idea that we all agree on some of the fundamental aspects of the sport, and that is, if one guy is missing and the other guy is landing, the guy landing is winning. And that's what was happening in rounds 2, 3, and 4. It wasn't Wilder who was connecting. It was Fury that was connecting. Like you said, touching him with jabs, jab right hand, and making it so that Wilder was reaching and missing. If not a lot happened, but that's what happened. That was the dimension of the fight and the look of the round, where one guy was whiffing and chasing after a guy and not connecting. Then he lost the round. I don't know that. I just don't see how a lot of those rounds you could give to Wilder, because in the early going, Fury was in control. And, I mean, just strategically, he was outboxing him clearly. And I think what Dax said is a good point, is that we should have sort of perked up a bit when we heard the names of these judges, is that, they aren't the typical people you hear. And I think every judge, I mean, you've been watching the sport for lots of years, Billy C. You know that the thing that happens in our sport in terms of corruption the most often is that a fight breaks in the direction of the most powerful promoter in the room. And that's what happened here, and that's sad. That that's what it smacks of corruption, because they protected the O of Deontay Wilder, and that's sad.
What's even sadder is that there was no need to, because there would have been a rematch, and the rematch would have made, even if Deontay Wilder loses that fight. I don't know if we said this on air last week, if I was talking to somebody else off air or whatever, but from a financial point, and obviously you can't tell one of your fighters this, but Deontay Wilder, think about this. Deontay Wilder would have made way more money over his next 2 or 3 fights if he would have lost last night. If he loses last night, he's going to get the rematch and make a big payday, right? And then even if he lost the rematch, which chances are he could have won the rematch and then pushed for a third fight. I mean, then the money is endless. But even if he loses, he puts himself in a position where he would never step in the ring again for less than $5-8 million. So really, by him winning, I think. Yes, he's going to make some big money, and should he beat Tyson Fury again, he's going to make some real big money when and if he and AJ ever fight. But there's a lot of ifs there. He's going to have to get by Tyson Fury again, and I just don't see, assuming that they both stay at the same exact level, I don't see a different fight. I see a similar fight. Maybe Wilder wins again, similar way, but I don't see Deontay improving, and that's a concern. When I look at Anthony Joshua, I see a kid that's improving all the time. When I look at Tyson Fury, I see a guy that's mentally sound, knows the game. He's a master of mind manipulation, and it shows in the ring. If somebody could help him just get a little more punching power, I think he would be unbeatable, really. Tyson Fury, unbeatable if he had more punching power.
If he had more punching power, he might have won by knockout last night, because, the time, I don't know. I mean, it...
Like Dax said it just in a comment right now. He says if Tyson Fury had the punching power, he would be banned from boxing. He probably would. How are you going to beat him? How are you going to beat him? But I asked.
It's tough, because it was such a good fight that it's you don't want to walk away disappointed and knocking the sport. In a way, everybody won because it was such a good fight. But it really was a lousy decision, I think. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you'll have people do all this, let's watch it again and dissect it. I don't think this needed a lot of dissection. It was pretty clear to me. It was clear to everybody in the room last night. And there was a lot of Deontay Wilder fans.
I was just going to ask you.
Shut up. And I think you heard it in the live event. Their mouths were shut. You really heard them. You weren't hearing. You heard USA chants a couple times in like round 7, and then they went to sleep, man. And that's why, in a way, there was a part of me I jumped up screaming in that 12th round for 2 reasons. One, I couldn't believe, oh my God, Fury just did such a beautiful job painting this house, and now the whole house came down.
Yeah.
But the other thing was like, oh my God, Wilder just had this fight lost and did exactly what you want a champion to do in the final round. It was amazing. But then the decision, kind of soured it. So I don't know. I mean, the thing about it is that they really set everything up last night to keep things sort of in this intramural way that we're used to the sport. Because, yes, you could have the way, and Fury, he's such a great marketer. The way he did the whole Chicken Joshua thing was hilarious. And he made it so that if Joshua, I'm sure, is going to want to fight him, and that fight will be enormous. That makes you want to go to England, that's for sure. But they could have a rematch of Wilder versus Fury with Ortiz again on the undercard. I enjoyed that fight as well. I thought it was a really good night. The Jarrett Hurd fight was good. It was really a good night.
I think the sad part of the outcome, after you watch a guy dominate as much, and you got to give credit to Wilder. I mean, he's a one-trick pony. His punching power got him through the fight. But I don't think the right guy won. I think we still would have seen a rematch. And I think that's the bad part of boxing. I'm sure a lot of people walked away from that fight saying, oh, yeah, this is why I stopped watching boxing. This is exactly why. The wrong guy won. And I will say this, as much as I can't stand the broadcast, even though I love Al Bernstein and Paulie, I can't stand the broadcast, well, specifically because of Mario Ronaldo. Those guys seem to be, the way they were calling that fight, they seem to be conscious of splitting the pats on the back they were giving the two fighters. For a couple of rounds they would be pro Wilder, a couple of rounds they'd be pro Tyson Fury. Usually you know who the Showtime fighter is, and they didn't do it as bad last night, which was good. Alex, before we let you go, I was alluding to ask you this, and you kind of commented a little bit, but from where you saw the fight in one of the closed circuit or movie theater presentations, was the crowd more in favor of Deontay Wilder, at least from the outset?
I think
because I thought the live gate was 50-50. It sounded.
This seemed kind of like maybe 50-50. The more vocal fans seemed like Wilder fans. And that changed right away because there were people who came in and when they were like showing in the pre-fight, when they would show little glimpse of the locker room and Wilder would show, everybody get very excited, or at least there was a big vocal section. But once the fight started, no, they were not vocal at all. So I think that's a sign that they see what's happening, and their guys getting dominated.
And another thing I noticed, I don't know about you, but I thought Deontay was acting like a beaten man.
I definitely agree with you. Absolutely.
I mean, he reverted back to what he relies on, just like I said he would with the power punching. And I don't know. I think every time Tyson Fury got up, especially that last round, he was walking around saying it's over, it's over, it's over, and all of a sudden it ain't over, And
the guy sitting next to me was like, "Oh my God, it's like Jason."
Yeah,
he's getting up.
Yeah.
It's like Jason.
That's funny, but it's what makes the sport go around. The powers that be that instrumented the scoring, because I'm a firm believer that it was corruption. Okay, I don't care what anybody says. They didn't have to do it. You didn't have to do it. It still would have been, the rematch would have still been highly in demand. It would have. I think that it would have been more in demand. I think that some people might even be turned off by a rematch, assuming it's going to end the same way, especially if they feel that the right guy didn't win this one. So I don't know, but all I do know.
You're absolutely right. It's almost like they've killed the golden goose too many times.
Exactly. It's they could have had a trilogy here, and when you put. I'm always looking as a boxing purist, but when I put just the greed hat on, I think they lost some money with the outcome like this. So I don't know. Only time will tell. But we were treated to a great fight last night, Alex. I was on the edge of my seat, and all I could think of. I don't want to have anybody think I'm thinking of this in the wrong way, but Alex, all I could think of was you during the fight. I'm saying to myself, oh man, I go, we thought it was going to be a boring fight. Then we became Alex thought it was going to be a boring fight, not me. I was a typical trainer. We did this, we did that, and all of a sudden he didn't do what I told him. He didn't do this.
I really thought that it was going to be very difficult to watch, that it was going to be sloppy, but I guess that was because of the Fury Klitschko fight. You know what?
Any of his fights.
I hope Dak's not listening, but that shows you, again, it was the Klitschko ingredient that made a lot of those fights stinkers.
No, there's no question. Listen, I've always said if Klitschko fought the way he fought, who did he fight? Pulev and Anthony Joshua. If he fought his whole career, the way he fought those two fights, he would be the greatest heavyweight of all time. People would be thinking of him as the greatest heavyweight of all time. But he fought a boring fight.
Speaking of great, how about that solar plexus shot that Jarrett Hurd landed? Man, oh man.
That was a great shot, and that guy, he amazes me. First of all, I want to know how that guy stepped on the scale 24 hours before that fight, and he weighed 152.5 pounds. And then he comes in that ring, and by the way, so did the opponent. So did Welburn. He weighed 100.
I was wondering if Showtime was that with like sneakers and sweats on, or
no, that was the weigh-in. The weigh-in, remember, this is a 154-pounder.
The 172-pound weight, I couldn't believe how much of a gain that was.
No, that's my point. My point is, how does a guy that big, let's assume that's his natural size, what we saw last night in the ring when he fought, how does he dry out to be 20 pounds lighter and then fill up the way he did? I mean, this looked like a guy that Jason Welburn looked like he was at least 2 weight classes below Jarrett Hurd. And this guy, Jarrett Hurd, he reminds me, and I said this when he fought several other fights, he reminds me of George Foreman for some reason. Just the way he methodically plods, the way he takes shots, and then just out of nowhere, I think that's part of his game plan. I think it's a dangerous one, but it's certainly been effective for him. He lets you tire yourself out on him, and then he destroys you, But I want to know where the Charlo brothers are. How come they're not fighting him? How come the Charlo brothers do the same thing? Just like Jarrett Hurd, they fight smaller guys.
My phone is always on. My phone is always on.
Yeah. Too bad you don't give that phone that's always on. You don't give anybody that number. You have another phone that's never on that you give out the number. But Alex, I appreciate your time, and it was a great fight. I'm glad you got to see it where you did, and we'll look forward to you next week, brother.
All right, Billy C, take care.
All right, man. That's Alex Papali getting his thoughts on the fight, and obviously another great one that we all enjoyed for sure. I know I certainly did. But in any event, so just to recap, we're all pretty much in agreement. We feel that Tyson Fury was robbed a bit last night. In a nutshell, my thoughts: I scored the fight 114-112 in favor of Tyson Fury. I was, impressed with his game plan and the fact that he was able to incorporate it, that it worked for him. Some things that I saw Tyson Fury, as far as improving from the old Tyson Fury, so to speak. I see a guy that was seemingly in better shape than I've ever seen him before. I've seen a guy last night in Tyson Fury who was very accurate with his punches. He typically is smart in the ring, so that wasn't an improvement, but he certainly was on the top of his game, and I thought he won the fight. As far as Deontay Wilder, he did what I thought he would do. He reverted back to his one-trick asset, which is punching power, and for the most part, throughout his whole career, he's been able to rely on that, and it's worked for him. How is a rematch going to go? I don't know. I wouldn't expect anything different. I would hope that maybe Deontay Wilder takes more risks and goes after Tyson Fury quicker. Apparently Tyson Fury hurt Deontay Wilder more than it appeared. Otherwise, I don't see why he wouldn't take the risk. It clearly seemed that Deontay Wilder's punching power could take out Tyson Fury, despite him getting up off the canvas not once but twice. But at the end of the night, it was an extremely entertaining fight. And I was glad that it happened. Like Alex, I felt that the fight wasn't going to be as entertaining as it was. I thought that I'd be watching a fight just to, because I have to, in a sense. And I was pleasantly surprised. So there's my thoughts there. Just a look at the heavyweight division real quickly. Luis Ortiz looked really good against a guy in Travis Kaufman, who I was never that impressed with. But when you look at the heavyweight division right now, I still believe Anthony Joshua is number one. I'm still going to say Deontay didn't lose the fight, so I got to still put him at number two. Tyson Fury very easily is the number three fighter. And then the next two guys in line, you have to really, think about it. I mean, does Luis Ortiz get moved into that fourth spot? Does Dillian White get moved into that fourth spot? And then obviously they flip-flop. Those are my top five. But in any event, time will tell. We are approaching the holiday season, so stay tuned for our holiday hours. But we are coming back bigger and better than ever for 2019. It is the month of December, so do me a favor and drop me an email with your top 10s. You can give me your top 10 fights of the year, your top 10 fighters of the year, pound for pound. Whatever your top 10 thoughts of professional boxing was for 2018, send them to me, and I'll read them on air. The email address is billy@talkinboxing. That's TALKINBOXING.com. Listen, boys and girls, thanks for being with us. It was a great fight, and we look forward to you joining us next time. So make sure you tune in next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.